Ezkiel Bey has been my friend longer than he's been my barber. We met in the 90s at Ujamaa Hair Salon on Green Avenue. Me and his brother have talked about everything. He is an intelligent guy. He's a stylist that owns his own hairstyling company that works with film and television. And he's a barber. For the last 12 years, I've been getting my hair cut by him at Platinum Cuts on Ocean Avenue. As you guys may know, the beauty industry is being ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. You can look at me and tell that barbers and beauticians are not getting work right now. People are not getting their hair done. And so it's affecting their bottom line. Because he's a business owner in that field, but also because he's an independent contractor, I felt it necessary for him to talk with us about the effect of the beauty industry shutdown on people's lives and how this whole COVID-19 pandemic is causing him to adjust and pivot his business model. So I present to you Ezkiel Bey. Enjoy. So, what I've been doing is interviewing small business owners, people in various industries to discuss how they have been adjusting their business model in the wake of this COVID-19 pandemic. I have on the line with me my brother. This guy's been cutting my hair for more than a decade. Good guy, astute businessman. Not only is he an independent contractor with regards to working as a barber, but he's also a business owner. He has his own styling business that I'll let him share with you. I'll let him share exactly what his business is with you. But I thought he was the perfect person to have this conversation with because he is a business owner, he is an independent contractor, and he does work in the beauty industry, which is one of the industries that's really being ravaged by this pandemic. It's my brother, Easy, Ezkiel Bey. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, good brother? Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
First off, how's your health? How's everybody? You good? Family's good?
Pretty good, man. I can't complain. I've been practicing social distancing, Had to go out a few times because I'm actually doing some mobile calls, but I'm being safe while doing so. But for the most part, everything is great, no symptoms, and I'm taking all precautions.
Good. Good to hear. Let's start with your business. You work on film sets, right? Tell us what you do. To your business.
Basically, so I'm a freelance hairstylist, and I also own and operate an agency for other freelance hairstylists. And we're open for hire for pretty much any sort of corporate events. So that applies to television, film, weddings, even weddings, because those are personal, but, photo shoots, album covers, all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But as a professional hairstylist, I also keep a chair in a shop that I manage called Platinum Cuts in Brooklyn, New York, in Bed-Stuy.
Right. So, in terms of the managing of the freestyle, the other freelance artists, at
Right.
what point did you realize that this pandemic was going to affect that aspect of your business, and how did you convey next steps with your contractors that work under you?
Well, it was pretty sudden. We were on a couple of different projects simultaneously. I had about 5 different people on different projects when it all went down. And, we were informed by the production companies and the unions that the productions were going to cease. They were going to shut down. Some productions uh, they were kind enough to pay people even in the middle of the cycle. So the contracts weren't even fulfilled, but some companies actually were able to pay. We didn't get it the week of. I believe the week it happened was the week. All of the shows that we were on went down after the 20th, I believe. The 20th, March. No, excuse me, the week before the 20th of March.
Right.
I don't actually remember what day because it was kind of all like a blur. Because, as the information was coming in on the news, there was a lot of conflicting information and contradicting information. So we didn't know what the city was going to say. So most of the productions were actually taking the time to get the information from the mayor's office to see if productions were going to be shut down.
Mm-hmm. The people that work under you, by and large, is this their sole source of income, or do they freelance in other spaces? How are they able to manage in this?
Everyone actually has contracts with myself, my company, Hair Sculpture, and a couple of other agencies. I got 4 people that are exclusively with me though, but everybody else are with me, but they also contract out. So it's just about who's available and who's next in line to get a particular job as the jobs come in.
Now, has there been a timetable presented to you from the films and the projects that you've been working on with regards to when you may resume?
Actually, no. It keeps changing. It keeps changing because of what the president was saying. Because we went from April 15th, and they were saying production might resume on the 30th, on the 31st, I believe. But that's still up in the air right now. But technically, what's coming from the city is saying the 30th. So we're waiting to see if most of the small businesses are going to respond directly to that April 30th date, or if it's going to have to be extended a little longer. So we're actually in limbo right now.
Any of your staff come down with COVID? Anybody in your work environment test positive for COVID yet?
No, not at all. And we're happy and grateful for that. But yeah, nobody so far, and hopefully that won't happen.
Now, as your role as a barber, having a chair at Platinum Cuts, the same question applies. At what point did you realize that you would no longer be able to actually have the chair be where you cut people's hair?
Okay, so that's why I was thinking about the 20th, because the 20th was when we actually shut down at the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shut down a week prior to that on sets. Mm-hmm. So we got the word that it was going around and that people should practice social distancing. But that first week, there was no mandate for salons to close or small businesses to close. And then a few days in, some of the small businesses outside of the beauty industry were asked to close. But I believe they hadn't addressed us, nor the bodegas. I believe they had addressed the laundromats and places that had a high volume of traffic. I believe they addressed those first. So those were the first to actually be told that they couldn't open. So barbershops and hair salons were actually pushing the envelope as far as they could until we were actually told. So I don't think I'm aware of any other shops that closed prior to when the mayor told us we had to close. Now, I am aware of people who weren't showing up to work that week before the actual mayor, before the mandate came down from the mayor's office or the governor's office. Before it came down, there were people who weren't showing up to work. And what we were seeing was just a sharp decrease in the traffic. So that week when it first hit, just where the numbers started spiking in New York, there was a decrease in the traffic, even though I had already been shut down on corporate gigs. In the shop, we were still able to be open, but we still had a little bit of traffic, and that was typically with our regular clients. And so that went on for about a week, and then it tapered off. I believe that last night was Sunday night. It was a Sunday night at 7 o'clock. I believe we had to close, but I actually shut the shop down that Friday night, actually. That Friday night, I shut the shop down. Mm-hmm. I was the last one there, and I had gotten some information from a friend that said, and that was false information, but it was information nonetheless. It was premature, actually. It wasn't false. It was basically that the word had come down from the governor's office that all shops had to close. But we still had that Saturday. So we could have worked that Saturday, but my information was premature, so I shut down that Saturday. But the point was, it was a ghost town anyway, you
Right.
know, in terms of comparison to usual business, regular business.
Oh yeah, you're right. So you have you're one of the barbers that I would say you have a very tight knit customer base. Like, I'm a customer. You've been cutting my hair since 2008. We've known one another longer than that, you know, for years back. But for the last 12 years, you've been my barber. And I can count maybe 5 to 8 of your customers that me and them have become good friends,
Right.
acquaintances,
Mhm.
colleagues, off the
Right.
strength of meeting one another as you being the connect,
Conduit.
the con.
Conduit.
So I know how you've been reaching out to your customer base, because you've reached out to me. You and I have had tons of conversations about a variety of things since this has happened. But for those who don't know, kind of talk about what your customer base means to you and how you've been kind of connecting with them in light of this.
Well, I've been doing this professionally for about 28 years. And, you know, I'm a pretty talkative individual, opinionated, and I kind of use that skill set to connect with my clients. So I have customers and I have clients. But I would say in the last decade or so, I've decided to focus more on clients. And generally, there is probably about a quarter of them that actually become my actual friends. So I'm in the repeat business game. So I have a lot of repeat clients, repeat business, and it's all based on the environment that I create and sort of the information I provide and the networking that I provide as well. I mean, yes, I'm good at what I do. I'm very good. But, you know, I don't think, you know, in this business that that's enough. So for myself, I just incorporate my personality into it a little bit more, and I sort of connect with individuals that connect with me, you know, personality wise. Another thing that I tend to do is I pick the brains of my clients, and I like to know what they do and what they do for a living, and you know what type of individuals they are. So I tend to get to know people on a personal level, but definitely on a business level. I do that first and foremost because I'm a nerd and I'm just inquisitive. You say that you do something for a living that I'm not familiar with or that I am familiar with, but I'm interested in, I'm going to pick your brain on it. And, you know, for the most part, I find that people like to discuss the inner workings of their career path and what they do and so forth. So, and then some of the personal challenges that they have in that space. Mm-hmm. And, you know, connecting with people like that, we kind of develop real friendships. And over the years, I've been sort of told that I should start a referral agency, you know, because I tend to put people together. But I do it out of the kindness of my heart, and just because I want to see people, you know, with varying degrees of skill and varying industries that have some, you know, intersection or some cross section, be able to work together, particularly Black people. So, you know, that helps to see Black business thrive, and it makes me feel good. So a lot of times, yourself included, you'd be at the shop and I'd have someone in the salon that I know does something for a living that's sort of conducive to what you do. Or you may be on the hunt for a particular person with this particular skill set. And over the years, people have learned that they can come to me to find that person. Hey, Ease, man, you know any good lawyers? Hey, do you know any good contractors? Do you know any good plumbers, et cetera, et cetera? You know, so I do that all the time, you know, and yeah, I could charge a fee for it, but like I said, I'd like to see, you know, people thrive and flourish. So that's one of the ways that I connect with a lot of the clients, because I help facilitate work for a lot of people. And, you know, and that's not the only reason we become friends, but it helps. And, you know, that's really, that relationship, that line of communication makes it easier for when there's a major development, such as this. But prior to things like this, it would just be a major development like I'm going on the road, or I'm going on vacation, or something like that. So, you know, with today's technology, it's pretty easy. Just you send out a text message blast or email blast, both and you let everyone know what the newest development was. So in this particular case, I did the same thing. I sent out a blast, but only to a few selected people, because I'm not out here risking my life, nor am I trying to risk others. But what I started doing was to compensate, and I told my team as well, not at the shop, but with hair sculpture, to the same thing. Either if it was necessary, you know, and you know, there's so much uncertainty about the future right now, so it was necessary for most of us. There's only one of us that I know hasn't been doing it, but everyone else has been suiting up, gloves and masks, can of Lysol, and doing a few home visits.
So I
But
want
I
to
only
about that. What you say?
do them on Fridays and only do certain people. So I don't advertise it like this is something to do, because the last thing I want, even though I could use the business, I just can't take it all.
So in the news the last couple of days was the guy from down south, I believe he's from Mississippi, the barber that was doing mobile calls and wound up testing positive for COVID and actually passing away from the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Story, man.
even though in your industry, there's this impetus coming from the state, coming from government, that says your industry shouldn't be working right now, right? They're saying no one should be getting haircuts. Beauty industry people should relax, fall back, wait till this is over. But sanitation and corrections and supermarket workers and other people are still putting themselves on the front line to provide services to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get, this is a two-part question. The first is I want to get your insight in terms of what you feel like should be the call to action for barbers and beauticians. Should they be staying home versus should they be seeking business? And then the second question is, how do you protect yourself and your client base when you do a mobile call so that you are protected and they are protected and you can kind of fulfill your role without endangering yourself or others?
Well, like I said, in terms of fulfilling that role, we're doing it the same way that everyone else should be doing it, which is, you know, keeping hand sanitizer on hand. We already use a lot of, you know, disinfectants already, you know, it's for our tools and for the client after the service is done. So that's already just incorporated as a part of the service. Some stylists already use gloves long before this was even an issue.
Right.
So beyond that, it's, you know, minor things like facing the client away from you. So the whole time that you're providing a service, the client is faced away from you. You know, when you get to the home, regardless of what their protocol is, my protocol is to take off my shoes, to spray down the bottom of my shoes, and to spray my jacket, spray my bag, and spray both bags. And then, you know, go head over to wherever they asked me to set up. Now, like I said, the relationships that I've had with clients over the years are personal relationships. Doing hair is it's an intimate process. It's a personal process. So you get to know people. So I don't go to random people's homes. These people, I've been to their houses anyway. We've gone to housewarmings and had parties and things like that anyway. Because like I said, I selected a select few of people that I sent out my notice to. But yeah, the Lysol is very important, the gloves, and the sanitizer is important. And, you know, we're masked up. They're masked. I asked them to wear masks, even though they're in their homes. I asked them to wear the mask that they usually wear when they go out for groceries. So we're all masked. And other people are in another room if they're there. So in some cases, it's been like the kids were there, but they're in another room. So, and with yourself, I believe, you know, we did it outside. I've done it a couple of places outside. So the risk is the same level risk as anyone takes going anywhere, to the gas station or to the grocery store, to the laundromat or wherever. Actually, I would say my risk is much more minimal than the average person. So we are nowhere nearly at as much risk as people who are on the front lines, like sanitation people or grocery store workers and police officers and teachers, etc. Because one, I get to control the environment in terms of where I'm going and who I'm going to see and how many people. So I'm never in any environment in which there's more than 3 people maximum, including myself, but it's usually just 2 people in a room. That's usually what it is. It's 2 people in a room, you know, getting a service. Now, who is the client base? These are people who are still going to work. Most of these people are still going to work. What was the first part of your question again?
First part is, what's your position on whether or not beauticians and barbers should still like advertise their services to their client base?
My position is you shouldn't be advertising your service to your client. Oh, to your client base. Okay, yes. To your client base, because that's an entirely different animal. You shouldn't be advertising your services to random people. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be out here picking up new business. Mm-hmm. What you should be doing is trying to rely on the strong relationships that you have with other clients and just that core group of people. If you don't have that, like say a couple of my freelance stylists, they don't have a part-time chair. All they do is freelance. So they don't have many clients to go visit. So literally they are in a worse off position than the rest of us because they didn't have that side chair to fall back on. Right. I learned that lesson a long time ago just from being on tour and coming back from tour, and my clients were gone. Like nobody's gonna wait for you for, 3 months and 4 months for you to come back after you've been catering to, as they say, the beautiful people. I've been told that, years ago we catered to the beautiful people, because I was chasing a certain type of money. Now I don't do that. I keep a chair on the side just in case things like this happen. 2008, it was necessary. It was necessary for me then, and it's necessary for me now. Right. So, but yeah, you shouldn't be advertising for new clients. You should be exercising a pretty strong regimen, the same regimen over and over again, spraying your shoes, spraying your bags, sanitizing your hands, wearing a mask, and not cutting from the front. That's pretty important, I believe, because the way that the virus is transmitted. So I don't really cut from the front, and whenever it requires me to cut from the front, we're not talking. So there's nothing to talk about at that point. Even though we're wearing masks, it's just not, it's just another precaution. Right. But it's a combination of all of these things. So you should know these people that you're going to, and keep it to a minimum. I'm pretty much surviving on 7 clients, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, about 7 people. So I have scores and I have tons of clients. And yes, I've been contacted by many of them. and I've responded. I've told most of them that I'm just not coming out. I just have that one day that I'm doing it. So if I can fit in, whoever I can fit in that's in the designated area, then I'll deal with them.
Gotcha.
And that's what I told my team to do. Do the same thing. Yeah, do the same thing.
Last question, just a 1 minute answer, because we about to get cut off this thing.
Sure.
In light of what you see going on now, and with forecasting into the future, right? Because we both know that what was won't be moving forward with anything, right? With 9/11 happened, that was a new normal. Superstorm Sandy happened, that was a new normal. So this will definitely bring forth a new normal. What are some pivots from a business standpoint that you are thinking and plotting out now that you know will need to be implemented once we get out of this quarantine, if and when we get out of this quarantine?
Communicable disease and infectious disease training. Now, all of us that are licensed already have this, but we have it as it relates to being able to analyze a client's pre-existing issues like cuts on their scalp, moles, rashes, things like that. We already trained for that, but I think we're all going to have to step that up, and we're going to have to start advertising that. So that's going to be a selling point, because the new normal is going to be what China has already been dealing with for years, which is wearing gloves consistently and masks. And Americans used to be judgmental up until now. You can't judge it anymore, because as you see, they were already exposed to all kinds of infectious diseases, and they've had a few outbreaks, so they've been prepared. So I think what's going to happen is our new normal is going to start to mimic theirs, and businesses are going to have to focus on that. And probably there will be some sort of certification that's going to happen, just like the grading system in restaurants. That probably should happen with most industries, because people are going to want to know that the staff was trained and the ownership is committed to keeping the customer base and the staff, for that matter, safe.
Right. All right. It's been an informative conversation. Yeah, man, just, continue to be of service in this community, man. That's important. I ain't got to tell you. And I obviously I need a cut. I need you to come see me on Friday. I've been kind of George Jeffersoning it out. You know what I'm saying?
And, and on another note, as far as also just in addition to the precautions we take, the health precautions, I also do some of the things in terms of disinfecting. It's just as much for me, it's just as much for the client, and to help them feel safe having someone come into your home. Even though you know me, who knows each other is pretty much irrelevant. So the spraying down of everything and the disinfecting before we even get started, as soon as I walk in the door, that's a ritual that helps the client to be safe. So anybody else that's going to be out there doing the same, I think if you're going to do it, go through the ritual, go through the regimen every single time.
Facts. All right. Love you, bro. Talk to you later.
Love you too. Take care. Thank you, brother.
All right.